Hey there, Seahawks fans. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com/chat and you'll save 20% off and get free shipping. We'll tell you more about them in a little bit as well. We're going to begin with some training camp battles for the Seahawks defensive end here. LJ Collier, see what he's got. Bruce Irvin, Darrell Taylor, Rasheem Green, Benson Mayowa. All these guys competing for a potential key role for the Seattle Seahawks in terms of actually getting pressure and getting to the quarterback. Let's start in with the most veteran player here. That is Bruce Irvin, who over the past couple years, with a variety of teams, by the way, has actually been pretty darn consistent. Somewhere in that 7 to 8 sack range, 8.5 last year, 6.5, 8, 7. That type of reliability and stability is something Seattle could really use because they don't have much experience outside of Bruce Irvin. LJ Collier is next up here. He is the one that this team really needs to step up. Last year's first-round pick, you can see his stats right there. He didn't make an impact. He was not effective for Seattle. Now, much like several players on this defensive line, look, 6'3", 291, he can kick inside as well, much like Rasheem Green. So when we go through these defensive end battles, you will probably see at least one or two of these guys kick inside on pass rushing downs to play that, almost Michael Bennett defensive end, defensive tackle hybrid role. Rasheem Green did have 4 sacks last year. That's intriguing. I don't know how repeatable that is. They were a little bit deceptive with the 3 forced fumbles, were certainly impressive. Can he take that next step forward? Can he prove to be a long-term piece for this Seahawks unit? He's kind of, I think, at some level, the overlooked guy because Rasheem Green or LJ Collier was a first-round pick. And then this past draft, Seattle traded up to get Darrell Taylor out of Tennessee. Now, he, I think, will play opposite that Collier-Green tandem. As you saw in the depth, I think he kind of slots in behind Bruce Irvin. I want to see what he can contribute this year. Seattle clearly likes him. What type of impact will he be able to make, though, in year one? Now, Benson Mayowa is next up here, and you see, 7 sacks. Tom, that's awesome. Yeah, that's deceptive. I don't think Mayowa is going to give you 7 sacks this year. If as a rotation piece, you can get a handful, I think that'd be a pretty big win for the organization. So you have some options at defensive end. Those guys we just went through. The question is, can they take and be enough for Seattle? Now, a familiar face is also back for Seattle. Brandon Jackson, who was cut by the Seahawks like a week ago, is now back. He's been re-signed. Seattle saved $2.13 million with that original release. It made perfect sense for Seattle. His new deal, details not yet known. I guarantee you it is cheaper. Jackson's actually started a handful of games for the Seahawks. Even though he's back, I'm not convinced he actually ends up earning a spot on the Seahawks roster, assuming everyone stays healthy and is able to play. Now, for this particular video, I'm going to make this the pinned comment. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and cast your votes for me. What is your confidence level in the Seahawks pass rush? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Jadeveon Clowney, constantly linked to the Seattle Seahawks, plus another edge rusher we'll get to in just a second. Had to make note of this here, right? Look, the longer this goes on, with Clowney unable to find an NFL home, the market not being what he wanted, the more likely I think it becomes that Clowney returns. Seattle actually freed up some cap space with the Jamal Adams trade. As weird as that might sound, it's actually what happened. If Clowney can't find the perfect storm of big-time contract, or at least what he wants as a big-time contract, and a contender, he might just opt back to go, you know what, I'm going to re-sign with Seattle because I know that franchise, and I'll remain there. But another option that many of you on our Seahawks channel have mentioned before, Everson Griffen, and I get it. He's been long linked to Seattle, and he'll probably be cheaper than Clowney, and purely from a sack production perspective, Everson Griffen's the better player. Now, run defense, and I think pressure in general, run defense clearly favors Clowney. Pressure a little bit favors Clowney. But if you just want a veteran, a one-year guy to provide some stability, provide some veteran leadership, and you know will be able to get after the quarterback, Everson Griffen actually makes a whole bunch of sense on that one. So pick one to sign if you were the Seattle Seahawks. Who are you going to add? Type G for Everson Griffen, or I want you guys to type in C for Jadeveon Clowney. You can go either direction here. Both make sense, but let me know what you guys think. Again, it's G for Griffen or C for Clowney. I think I'd be more aggressive and I'd go with Clowney, but frankly, either of those options make a ton of sense for the Seattle Seahawks. Today's show, as mentioned, brought to you by Manscaped. Get the perfect package. Your wife, your girlfriend, she's going to appreciate it. Manscaped.com/chat. That'll save you 20% off and get free shipping. You get everything you see there, plus a nice little carrying case. The Lawnmower 3.0, it's the best men's grooming tool out there. And the most comfortable pair of boxers you will ever own, all from Manscaped. They've also, by the way, just launched a new product, the Shears 2.0. A little bit extra grooming right there. My favorite part of this, by far, are the nail trimmers. I don't have to pick it and do my nails with my teeth anymore because I have a bad habit of doing that. It also extends, so you know how your big toe is a little bit tougher to actually trim? Well, now you get extra leverage with it. It is the best possible product you will ever have right there. It's manscaped.com/chat. Links in the comments and in the description. As a reminder, 20% off and you will get free shipping. Let's go to linebacker now on our defensive training camp battles. The starters, I think, are pretty clear. KJ Wright, we know how great Bobby Wagner is, and Jordyn Brooks. It's the number 2 linebacker spot and who ends up being the depth guys that I am intrigued by. I do want to acknowledge Bobby Wagner, by the way, the best linebacker in the NFL. I'm sorry, Levante David. Sorry, Fred Warner. Sorry, some other players for the Vikings and whatnot. Bobby Wagner's better. Now, the incumbent as that number 2 guy in a defense that mostly used 4-3 looks last season is KJ Wright, coming off statistically one of his best ever seasons. You saw that the tackles for loss kind of dipped. The pass breakups went way up because he was in coverage a lot more because Seattle didn't like using a nickel corner. His potential replacement either this year or down the road is going to be Jordyn Brooks. And he found his role last year at Texas Tech. 108 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. The issue is he wasn't great in coverage. That remains a concern for the Seattle team. Take that next step forward. You'll see both of these guys on the field, both KJ Wright, both Jordyn Brooks. But in those scenarios where Seattle pulls a linebacker off the field, who's linebacker 2? Who actually stays out there in nickel sets, along with, of course, Bobby Wagner? Type W for KJ Wright or type B for Jordyn Brooks. All right, some of the depth options now at linebacker for Seattle. Cody Barton, first up here. Look, he was a relatively recent draft pick, 3rd rounder. I thought he was going to be a long-term piece for Seattle. Maybe he can be the long-term linebacker 3, but he's been quickly, and just because of where they were drafted, quickly replaced by Jordyn Brooks. One of my preferred players in the NFL, Rasheem Green, awesome story. Mostly a special teams guy. I still would love to see Seattle find a creative way to get him on the field, but I do like Rasheem Green. I like what he brings to the organization in terms of speed and special teams. But as far as like actual pure linebackers go, he didn't get on the field very much last season. Finally, there's Ben Irvin, who, first off, look, common theme, great names on this Seahawks team. 5th round pick out of Washington. Hadn't got a chance to do a ton last year. Maybe that changes. But again, for Irvin and Barton, the recent draft pick of Jordyn Brooks kind of puts them behind the 8 ball in terms of making an impact this season.